Episode 106 is about accepting people where they are. And I want to kick this off, Jerrod, by asking you the question of why do we judge and find it hard to accept people if they're in different places than us or have different beliefs than us?
Man, thinking that through, I think we judge and we want to change other people when we're really not at peace with ourselves. When we're actually not happy with ourselves or we're not comfortable with ourselves, we try to make other people change. And I don't know, I've been thinking about that a lot because of what you and I do. Part of our business is to facilitate change for people that want it, and help them move towards their own goals and stuff. But I think that's the cool thing when we run classes or we speak with people, they identify their goals and we just help them believe in it. We help them create the steps to get to it, but we don't make them change. And I think where I've struggled in life is necessarily not accepting other people who don't want to change. And for me, a lot of times, if you didn't want to change, if you had no interest in getting better, I would just move on without you. And now as I'm getting older and we both recently had deaths in our life. Mine was a dog, but yours was one of Courtney's friends. You realize that there is a place for everybody, or they can be, even if they're necessarily not moving on the same path from you or with you. And I reflect back to even you when you talked about your dad. And even though you guys weren't super close, you weren't on the same path with a lot of things, when you found out he was sick, you immediately cleared your schedule, went there, and supported him and offered him tools of change, but you didn't put all your energy into saying, I got to make you change.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really good example. And that's what one that I had thought of as well. I agree with that we sometimes it can come from a good place, right? Like I think for you and I, we want people to be doing the daily meditation and the daily gratitude and the daily exercise and eating well and all these things that are so good for us. And it can be hard for us to understand and sometimes even accept when someone is doing something that is very opposite of what we believe are the foundational tools to living your best life. Maybe someone who's a daily drinker, right? An
Yeah.
alcoholic, or someone who's just always negative and always complaining. I think for us that can be hard to accept. But I think that off air you were talking about how um, it can be difficult to accept people when we want them to change themselves for the better, right?
Yeah.
Or for what we believe is better. And I think that just maybe truly accepting people for where they're at might be that first step to truly creating change, helping them create change. Is really acknowledging, accepting, like, all right, let's look at your life right now. Let's look at your dominant habits and really getting them to accept where they're at. I think a lot of people say that in order to change, um, you have to accept what the truth is right now.
Yeah. But see, I would even say that part of my piece on this trip has been that I don't want to change them. Like, I'm literally completely at peace with however they want to live their lives. I will spend some time with them. And when I spend that time, it's
Who's
not.
they and them? Can
Well,
you?
I mean, some of you guys read my book. My relationship with my dad's never been the strongest. And for a lot of times when I'd come back, it would be like this tension of, okay, I got to go see him, but we got to put all these rules around it. And then, half the time we're spent being together, you're kind of like, man, there was so much potential here and we could be doing so much different stuff. Um, Whereas now I'm just like, man, this is his life. Like I have no obligation to change his life, but I can love him in this little space I have.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that I'm going to adopt those habits or that I'm saying like this is good for you. Like when we're together, like I'm going to push him a little bit, make him go on some walks and make him do some things that could potentially make him better. But I think it's just a shift of a lens, right? And I talked to my mom about this the other day. Just when we go see somebody, we're just going to accept them where they are for today. Right. And like, if they want to change, yeah, I can help you change. If you want to get up, meet me for a walk, I'll go walk with you. If you want to not drink, I'll help you not drink. But I'm not going to show up for the one time I get to see you. It might be the only time I see you this year. Spend all my energy wishing you were doing something different instead of just being like, hey, you chose this, you're an adult. I'm just going to love you right here. And I think for me, that's a huge growth, honestly, that I attribute a lot to you and to what we've talked about here and to just reflection. Like, as a true leader, we don't need to burden ourselves with everything everybody else could become.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have an obligation to show up in a space that if you want to be led, I'm open for you.
Yeah.
And then at the same point, I can also follow, right? Like you've led me on some different things. So I think those are roles that sometimes we don't allow ourselves to get into, right? If we're a leader in certain aspects of life, we refuse to follow in others. And I think that's truly the balance of where we should want to be. As I lead in certain places, I follow in others because we all have deficiencies.
I love it. I love it, man. And just hearing how you've interacted with your father on this trip, it warms my heart because I know, and you shared too, even like how you ended your last book.
Yeah,
A lot of people reached out to you and were like, "So are you gonna have a part two?"
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing, and you were even like, I don't know, like
yeah,
it just is what it is, and I think that that's a huge lesson that now you're really going to be able to share and spread with others is not only accepting people where they're at, but loving people where they're at.
yeah,
And I have an example too of one thing that I learned from two really hard deaths that have happened to me within the last 2 weeks, just boom, boom, back to back. My grandmother and a very close friend of mine, Courtney's roommate, my girlfriend's old roommate, who I used to see a lot being over there and staying over there, and we developed a relationship of our own. But both of them passed away 1 week apart from each other, so I had a lot of time to really deal and reflect with death. And my father had called me. I told him about Amanda's passing, and gave him my condolences, and then began to complain about his sister. He's like, "Have you talked to your aunt?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And he was so mad because, and they argue and they butt heads. And he was like, "Well, don't talk to your fucking aunt. She's a fucking bitch and this and that. And she's a liar and all this stuff." And I let him kind of vent for a little bit. And he was just going off about how shitty my aunt was, his sister is. And I was like, "Pop, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there for a second." And I was like, I want to tell you something that I've learned from Sittle passing away, from Amanda passing away, and something that I'm choosing to do with my life. I don't care what you're saying. I don't care. I don't care if my aunt, if you're right, if she's the biggest bitch and the biggest liar and the biggest whore and the biggest fucking whatever. I don't care. What I want to do, I maybe see her, if I'm lucky, maybe once a year. It's more like once every 2 or 3 years. Okay. So when I see her, I just want to love her and love all the great things about her. Because you know what? Maybe she did say some super mean shit to you. Maybe she did tell you a lie. Maybe, but life is so short that I don't even want to care about that. Okay, Pop, I just want to love her and love everyone in my family, like your brothers that you talk shit about too. Same thing. I don't want to hear it. Okay. If you need a vent to me, I'm just going to tell you, okay, Pop, well, guess what? I still love them. And that's what I'm going to do when I get to see them. I just want to love them for all the amazing things that they have. We're all human beings. Even Jesus Christ committed sins, right? Everyone's going to lie. at some point. Everyone, everyone's gonna do something shitty. We're human beings. That's our nature. No matter how much inner work we've done, there will be some point where we fuck up and do something that someone else doesn't like. But guess what? If it's my family, people that I love, I just want to love them. And it was interesting because he was kind of taken back. He just kind of paused and he was like, well, it's your life. Like, you can do whatever you want kind of thing.